Is it hype or do they legit serve good food? Is it worth the $165 price? And do I think they deserve a Michelin star?
I came to America 2011, but before that, like most Filipinos, I started my career in the Middle East. I was in Dubai, to be exact. I worked there for 7 years as a private chef for the princess of UAE. And then after that, when I moved here in New York, I became the private chef for the ambassador of UAE to the United Nations.
Come with me as I dine at one of Conde Nast's best new restaurants in New York City, and a new addition to the Michelin Guide New York as of September 2024. Welcome to Tadhana. It is a Tagalog word that means destiny or fate. It is Chef Frances' manifestation of grit, her love letter to risk, and her offering of faithful Filipino flavors to the world. It is a 16-course Filipino tasting menu that transports you across Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao with a modernist technique. I can't wait to take you with me on this culinary adventure. According to the website, Chef Frances Tariga wants to show the world that Filipino food can be without boundaries and limitations. So without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into the menu. The service starts with the staff giving you a menthol-based wipe. When I visited Tadhana last June, they weren't offering alcoholic beverage yet. And so I opted for a dalandan juice, which was honestly the best thing that could accompany the tasting menu. It was citrusy, light, and refreshing, and I don't think a lot of people are familiar with dalandan being a Philippine citrus fruit. If you think about citrus and the Philippines, more likely than not, people will usually mention calamansi. So, I think that this welcome drink was a great choice. All of the dishes in the tasting menu were explained by Chef Frances herself, which is honestly something that I appreciated while dining at Tadhana. The stories behind the dishes she and her team created and how they came to fruition are just as important as the dishes themselves. The first course of the menu is pan de igorot. It is a homemade forbidden rice sardo with quesong puti, spicy guava jam, and asin tibuok. Honestly, it was divine. It was a great way to start a meal and an elevated version of bread and butter. The spicy note from the guava jam complemented the soft, tart, and slightly salty flavor from the quesong puti. If you haven't tried it before, I'd say quesong puti is similar to ricotta. To tie it together, Chef Frances used an artisanal salt called asin tibuok. This is asin tibuok. And she used this to tie the dish together. I think that it was a great way to introduce local Filipino ingredients in a way that is still familiar to the foreign palate. Next, we were presented with what looked like a book. But when we open it, you are presented with courses 2 and 3 on the tasting menu, over a bed of greenery. Course 2 is gamet at lato tart with smoked goat cheese, English peas, and fish. If you haven't tried or haven't heard of gamet before, it is a traditional dried edible seaweed from Ilocos Norte and Cagayan. And together with the fish and the smoked goat cheese, the bite was just an explosion of flavors. I really like this course. Course 3 is okoy. Traditional okoy is crispy fried fritters made with glutinous rice ball, mini-sized shrimp, and some vegetables. And in this course, Chef Frances elevated it using smoked tart roe, sweet potatoes, snap peas, and sinamak aioli. Sinamak is a type of spiced vinegar that originated in Iloilo City and is usually made with coconut vinegar, garlic, ginger, chilies, and sometimes galangal. The bold flavor from the sinamak aioli gives vibrancy to the smoked tout roe. Again, Another bite that was packed with so much flavor. I love these courses. They were bites that were bursting with flavors that felt familiar, yet done in a new and a modern way. Moving on to course 4th and 5th in the tasting menu, we were presented with a sealed bowl and were instructed to eat the dish on top before opening the sealed container. On top was kinilaw, the Filipino version of fish ceviche, which was yellowtail with smoked extra virgin olive oil and pinakurat sphere. And pinakurat is my favorite vinegar-based condiment. It is a brand name of an established and well-loved blended spiced coconut vinegar sap from Iligan City. And just because I am such a fan of kinilaw, this was probably the best course yet. And once you open the sealed bowl, you are greeted with sinuglaw. It is a dish composed of charcoal grilled pork belly and fish ceviche. It is a word that is derived from the combination of the words sugba, which means to grill, and kilaw, which means to cook by soaking in vinegar. Tadhana's version though is made with wagyu ribeye, kinomi leaf, and coconut vinaigrette. It is served with this transparent shell, which added to the uniqueness of the dish. Because it has been sitting in the smoked container, this course reminded me so much of an elevated version of Filipino barbecue. I think that this course required so much technique and skill, and it was also well done. Although I think it was too smoky in my opinion, and I don't think this was my favorite dish, I still think that it was a great way to elevate a Filipino classic. Course number 6 was penoy and caviar. Similar to balot, penoy is a fertilized duck egg where no embryo develops, and it usually has a mild, satisfying flavor, reminiscent of a hard-boiled egg. At Tadhana, Chef Francis created a homemade custard with the duck egg and incorporated koji and kaluga caviar. I have to say that this was one of my favorite courses in this tasting menu. It is paying homage to a Filipino street food classic, and although it is an elevated version, I could still taste the distinct flavors from the penoy. Course number 7 was inasal na rellenong pakpak. This is a boneless grilled chicken wing stuffed with embutido, tender juicy hot dog, golden raisins, and annatto gel. I mean, if you are going to elevate a Filipino classic, this is how to do it properly. This dish, in my humble opinion, is a representation of what Filipino food can be, and not just what it is. So much skill and thought process was done to create this course. Do you know how to remove the bones from a chicken while maintaining its shape? Because I don't. This was skillfully done, and the flavors were well balanced. This was, without a doubt, my favorite dish. Halfway through the menu, we have sinigang sa batuan. Tadhana's version is so close to the traditional way of creating sinigang. It has the perfect amount of sourness that cleans your palate for the upcoming courses. I think that it is a great way to introduce one of the most beloved Filipino soups to people who haven't tried Filipino food yet. The next 3 courses were served family style. We have inihaw na pugita, sugpo at buro, and halabos na gulay. Inihaw na pugita, which means grilled octopus, is served with calamansi sofrito and pili gremolata. The sugpo at buro, or grilled prawns, was served with crumbs and tamarind brown butter. And halabos na gulay, which are seasonal greens with anchovy foam. When the 3 courses were introduced, I honestly did not understand why all 3 of them were served at the same time. But after grabbing a piece from all 3 of them and putting it in my plate, I understood why this was done. I believe that Chef Francis wants to incorporate serving dishes family style. In the Philippines, we don't usually order food for ourselves. Food is such an important part of our culture that anything you buy in restaurants in the Philippines is shared with family and friends. Everything in the table, regardless of whoever ordered it, is enjoyed by everyone sitting. And I think that this was intentional. Chef Frances created Tadhana as a love letter to all Filipinos, and what better way to showcase that love than to celebrate it and to serve some of the dishes in the tasting menu family style. Although all three of the courses were exceptional, my bias is towards inihaw na pugita because of the freshness and the smoky flavor of the octopus, which is complemented by the citrus from the calamansi. The 12th and 13th course were also served together. They were named Waging Sinaing or steamed rice and Inihaw na Lempo or grilled pork belly. The pork belly was created with a homemade banana ketchup glaze and was also served with an aged vinegar on the side as a condiment. I really love this dish. In my opinion, this course is really simple. However, it is reminiscent of home and a nod to one of the favorite Filipino dishes. We use a lot of pork in Filipino cuisine, and I think that incorporating inihaw na lempo in the tasting menu was an excellent choice. And finally, we made it to the desserts. The first thing that was served was pilipit. It is a traditional Filipino deep-fried twisted donut, but Chef Francis's version is made with squash mochi donut instead. And it was topped with truffle batirol, which is summer truffles with chocolate fudge. This was not your typical donut for sure. The donut was so soft and pillowy, and the chocolate fudge complemented the hot dessert so well. This was my favorite dessert. And to finish off the tasting menu, we have halo-halo in one bite. In Tagalog, the word translates to mix-mix. It is a popular cold dessert made with shaved ice, evaporated and condensed milk, tropical fruits, ice cream, flan, and a whole lot of other things. Tadhana's version is created with liquid nitrogen, so the smoke adds to the wow factor. After biting, I was expecting a burst of different flavor profiles, but I think their version was only created with jackfruit. I didn't hate this course, but I prefer the complexity and the flavors from the donut and the chocolate fudge. I just wish there was more than jackfruit in the halo-halo. So, finally, we're at the end of this video, and it is time to answer the following question. First, is it hype or do they legit serve good food? I don't think it is hype. I think that Tadhana deserves all the praises and positive reviews that it is receiving from Conde Nast Traveler, the New York Times, Bon Appetit, and the Michelin Guide because they serve contemporary Filipino cuisine in a way that is still respectful to its culinary roots. It was well executed and it tastes so good. Is it worth the $165 price? 100%. It is cheaper than a lot of other tasting menus in New York, and I think that the price enables the restaurant to continue to invest in highlighting Filipino flavor profiles to people who have yet to try Filipino food without compromising quality. Do I think that they deserve a Michelin star? I honestly think so. The tasting menu illuminates dishes that are familiar to the Filipino palate, yet introduces it in a way that is not intimidating to someone who hasn't tried Filipino food yet. According to the Michelin Guide, restaurants with 1 star are considered very good in their category, having a quality menu and prepares cuisine in a consistently high standard. And I think Tadhana deserves that accolade.
Maraming salamat po. Thank you so much and enjoy the rest of your night.
Salamat! If you reached this part of the video, I truly appreciate you watching my review. I hope you enjoyed watching, and please consider subscribing. Let me know what you think and what you want to see in my future videos. Alright, that's it for now, and I'll see you on the next video. Bye!